Hey guys, Melvin here. Welcome to the attic. We're going to be reading a story from the RPG Horror Stories subreddit. This one was posted by user Vulpine Voltage. It's about a very NSFW mystery. It appears to start out as a detour for the party, a spa day murder mystery. Mostly a way for the party to de-stress after the usual heaviness of being adventurers in D&D, but quickly unravels into debauchery, confusion, the influence of mischief gods, and potent narcotics. Let's check it out. This happened a few months ago, and I still cringe whenever I think about it. So, full story. I'm gonna preface this by saying I should have spoken up when I was uncomfortable, but, everyone else was having a good time, and I didn't want to be the "you guys are having fun wrong" guy. And hell, maybe if I had been reading the mood better, maybe I could have kept up with it. A second note is, I did a previous one-shot with this DM, and shit got pretty weird and off the walls, but not to this extent. A running joke in our regular campaign is that we need to do a spa day, cause wild shit keeps happening and our characters need to relax. So we thought it'd be fun to do a murder mystery at a spa. Cool, right? So enter our party. We have the Awakened Dog, homebrew race, literally a sentient dog, the Orc Paladin with a 6 intelligence. This is important. The Aarakocra Monk, the Kenku Rogue, and my Centaur Fighter. So we all had flyers for a free spa treatment and were ushered into a waiting room where they have a buffet of the best food and drink. It starts with us trying the food and drink at the buffet, with my Centaur attempting to keep the booze away from the dog, cause booze is bad for dogs, but silly shit all in all. We get our spa treatments. Some choose for happy endings, some don't, with the Kenku forfeiting the treatment altogether, hiding in the corner and attempting to rob one of the staff members. Okay, that may have been the first sign shit was gonna fall apart. So after everything, we hear screaming. The dog is the first one in. We find the owner of the spa has been killed. The orc attempts to revive her, but it doesn't work. He gets thrown clear across the room. We're taken aside by a warforged who decides we're the most qualified to solve this murder mystery, which we would later find out was a heavy overstatement. So, the orc goes to talk to the Yuan T who did his massage, and she was being sketchy as shit, but he was too dumb to pick up on it. Also, since they went off into another room to talk, there wasn't really anything we could do about it in character. The dog talks to an Aarakocra that looks like a penguin, but doesn't really get anything useful about the murder. Meanwhile, the actual team Aarakocra is just sort of flying around, and the Kenku is hiding in the corner. My Centaur starts interrogating the Turtle, then the Calistar, and finally a Tiefling Goliath hybrid, who gives me progress on the case. Finally. So essentially, he and the owner had been lovers, but also in an open relationship. And he talks about how the owner would love about anybody regardless of who they were. Meanwhile, everyone else is sort of screwing around in the background. The dog is an Echo Knight, so he's f***ing around with his manifest Echo. The Aarakocra laid an egg because something turned her on, and the Kenku is hiding in the shadows in the corner. I go and I tell them what I learned. The Aarakocra asks if maybe the owner had a type so we could narrow it down. Great question. I go back to ask Tiefling Goliath, who says she loved all types. Someone insinuates the owner is a slut. The Tiefling Goliath takes offense to that, insisting she's just a free spirit and not promiscuous. The orc, not understanding words, keeps asking what promiscuous means. The Kenku takes his time to speak up and keeps repeating promiscuous. And the Aarakocra and the dog are still implying she was a slut. This leads the Tiefling Goliath to use some magic to make us all sit, and goes on a rage about how he could kill us all and send us to the 9 hells and shit. Whatever. I get the relevant information that no, she did not have a type, but she had been secretive about the new lover, so that was a start. I figured we could check her room for love letters or something to give us more of a clue, so I try shepherding everyone out so we can look for this. But it's like herding cats, and it takes another couple of threats from the Tiefling Goliath. We finally make our way to the elevator. Nice. Progress. We get to her room and I start looking for clues, and the description of the room is basically sex toys as far as the eye can see. Okay? Oh, but there's a book. Maybe the book is a diary or a journal or something, right? Like a positive clue. I go to check the book for anything, but I have to make a con save, where I am subsequently thrown across the room by the book. And by this point, I'm annoyed. But books can be trapped, right? I guess it's just bad luck. except the orc, who apparently has some skill in Arcana, looks at the book, which as it turns out was a low-key artifact, and he tells the orc, "Hey, I like the cut of your jib. Worship me and I'll make you smart." And the orc proceeded to get a 20 stat for his intelligence. I found out later it was because the guy playing the orc was playing dumb so well it was annoying the DM, and he did this to shut him up. Meanwhile, the Aarakocra finds a wand of fireballs and proceeds to stick it up her hoo-ha because reasons. Like seriously, the DM had the player roll an intelligence to see if they knew it was a wand, and she did. But she did it anyway. The Kenku tries and fails to steal a magic TV before picking up the Book of Loki, converting to Lokiism and being turned into a fire genasi. Finally, the orc realizes, oh yeah, that Yuan Ti was pretty suspicious, so we need to go back downstairs. Okay, so we head that way before the orc and the Aarakocra take a detour to so they could make powerful babies. But after that, we go downstairs, talk to the Warforged, and learn that while we were gone, the suspects decided to start hotboxing in the staff room, which was so potent that we had to make con saves. The dog did it at a disadvantage and passed out. The orc walks in and he's gonna get a confession by having her give him a blowjob, so he drops his pants and waddles in. The Aarakocra is next, and she pulls the wand out of her and shoves it up the Yuan Ti's ass. And that's going in. When the former Kenku walks in to try to pickpocket her for information while this is going on, was about when I decided this was getting too much for me. The most frustrating thing was it felt like I was the only one actively trying to advance the plot, and I was the one that was being punished for it somehow. It's not like I expected a reward for it or anything, but in the end my contribution felt essentially pointless. So that sure was something. Does that count as the obligatory hot spring episode? I do feel for OP trying to maintain some shred of sanity amongst the dwindling inhibitions of the rest of the party, but I must admit, it sounded like everyone had a pretty good time. Compared to some of the painful awkwardness and blatant rudeness of some of the other stories, this was certainly a light-hearted RPG horror story. The DM getting annoyed with the half-orc 6 intelligence and yuking the character with a low-key tome that vastly improved it hit home for me. That's definitely something I can imagine doing after the dumb act would wear on my nerves over time. If anything, I think OP playing it straight and attempting to keep the narrative together added to the story by providing a force to contrast with the rest of the party's shenanigans. It's like the deadpan straight man in a comedy. You need that character to define the range of expression in the world. Otherwise, you've just got pure chaos. Though I imagine it was frustrating to deal with at the time, with every attempt to further the plot getting overwhelmed by a slew of wild things the other characters were getting up to. I also don't think I've seen so many bird people in one story. You've got winged bird people with the Aarakocra, and wingless bird people with the Kenku. There was also mention of that penguin Aarakocra, and I'm not even sure how that works. To me, that's the true meta mystery of this story. I know that there's a certain section of players that rag on D&D for getting more eccentric with its race options, but stories like this really make me appreciate the imagery of a fantasy world with so many bizarre races. I don't know, it's fine that D&D isn't always super Tolkien inspired. To me, the Tolkien influences are the most tired and standard parts of D&D. They keep the game firmly rooted in this one very particular flavor of Western fantasy. In my opinion, the inclusion of many different types of playable races harkens more to various world mythologies, like Greek mythology where centaurs most famously come from, or many tribal and native societies where stories of sentient animal characters getting up to mischief were common. During human history's Bronze Age, there was a vast cross-proliferation of deities stretching from the Mediterranean all the way to Egypt and beyond. Gods were imported and exported because to the people these influences were modular, pure distillations of human nature to be emphasized, worshipped, and meditated on. Even though I tend to run pretty grounded games, I still appreciate the creativity of games that use such a variety of races and classes. Even in stories like OP's, where the party has a strange, horny spa day. And even Loki shows up. All things considered, I'd say that was a pretty fitting cameo for the old god. I know there's some strong opinions with this topic, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Are players getting too wacky with all these race options in D&D? Alright everyone, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me here in the attic. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Take care of yourselves out there. This is Melvin, in the attic, signing out.